gang. Eric Andreas, your guitar sage here with Tim, my pedal freak. We've been doing a bunch of reviews on pedals lately just because Tim brought his huge pedal board over here and I'm looking at it right now. It's just ridiculous. So today we're going to be looking at the PT9, which is by Ibanez. It's a basic phaser. This specific one is a classic, I guess you got from the 80s, right? So
yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't alive in the 80s, but I did buy I did buy it used. This was actually an eBay purchase. I believe I picked it up for like $70, I think.
Okay.
Which is actually pretty good for what they're running for.
Well, tell us a little bit about this. When you use it. Well, first tell us, what does a phaser do? Why do we need it? Do we need it? What it's used for? How you use it? All that good stuff. And then what some of these knobs do, and a little bit more about the pedal.
Well, a phaser, like all modulation pedals, are meant to add texture to your tone, more so than just like a distortion or a fuzz. This one especially is kind of a timed effect, and it takes it and it almost kind of adds like a swooshing, like a swirling kind of effect. In fact, if you've ever listened to Eddie Van Halen's Eruption and wondered what that swirling effect was, that was a phaser. It wasn't this exact model, but it was a phaser, and it did the same kind of effect. This guy, I chose the Ibanez because I've always had pretty good luck with Ibanez pedals if you find the right ones. And usually they're built like a tank and will never fall apart. This one kind of is a little bit on the back, but some of these pieces are coming off, but that's because there's some screws missing. That's really not a big deal because it just kind of sticks on my board anyway and doesn't move. So the knob's a little, I don't know what happened there, but that happened before I bought it.
It was an angry gig.
Yeah, I was really angry.
All right, so what do these different knobs do? Or actually, can you play a little something and just let's hear it?
So let's get the clean tone.
And this is running into a Black Star Soloist Soloist 60, HT Soloist 60. Nothing special about it. We have it on the clean channel, and so there's no anything. There's just a very small amount of reverb that you're hearing. So here's the raw sound, if you will, the dry sound.
Yep.
And so with the phaser,
on, I've got it on a somewhat subtle setting right now, but here we've got our speed knob on the left-hand side, and
so
it goes.
Can you play something, and I'll change that while you're.
As you can hear, it gets pretty intense when it's all the way up.
The speed of the modulation here. And what does this guy do?
That's your width. That's like how
wide you want.
How wide the swish is. So
we really want to hear it here. So basically, this is almost like, if you will, like a mix, or not even so much a mix, but more a how much you're going to be.
How intense the effect is.
How intense the effect is. Yes.
That's.
And this is your speed, and there's feedback, and we just had a big discussion about feedback on modulation pedals, and how when you twist them from 0 to 10, there's not much of an effect there. It's just a slight bit of of, what's the word I'm looking for here? We basically can perceive it a little bit better by turning up the feedback. So, so as you can see, this pedal is a little bit more like a more like an icing, if you will, on the cake. It's not as necessary typically as your tonal pedals for the most part. And it's used. How often do you use it, say, in a gig?
I don't use it a ton. There's really only a couple songs that my band will do that I'll put it on. But we're all really big fans of The Cure and 80s music in my band, so we do a cover of Boys Don't Cry, and I like to use this guy on it.
Nice. Standard 9 volt in, and or nine. I'm sorry. Yes, 9.
Yeah, 9 volts.
9 volts.
Yep.
And then just standard in and out.
Yep.
This is 80s pedal, so there's no bypass or anything like that on it.
Yeah, it's just your normal buffered bypass.
Buffered bypass. So if, for those of you that don't know what the buffered bypass is, can you explain that?
Yeah. Basically, there's the concept of, if you've got, the longer your cable is, the more signal degradation you're going to have. So the weaker your sound's going to be. And they tried to combat that with, when you have this turned off, your signal is going through just kind of a little bit of a boost, kind of a buffer. So it's trying to push your signal through the rest of the cabling. And back in the 80s, people started using a bunch of pedals all at once for all these effects they were going through, and so they needed something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, nowadays you can take it or leave it. It's all personal preference kind of a thing, whether you like buffered bypass or true bypass. So,
but technically, the buffered will affect your tone a small amount. Some people, so much so that they don't like to use them at all. But
or they'll mod them.
Or they'll what?
Or they'll mod them. I've seen people send these kind of pedals in and stick a switch right here over the logo, especially on for the bypass switch, so they wouldn't use this one. But I've seen those on like tube screamers and stuff.
Right.
Same kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Very good. Well, there you go. That's the Ibanez PT9 phaser. Great, fun little bit. Where do you put this in your chain?
I put it in between. I like to sandwich my dirt pedals with my modulation. So I like to go tuner, fuzz, modulation, overdrive, and then my tremolos at the end.
Okay.
So I just went backwards. It should be going from right to left.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Most of the time in your signal chain, when you're talking about pedal boards, you're typically putting modulations along with delays and reverbs and stuff like that at the end of the chain.
Yeah, a lot of times you do. It's just I tend to like it in the middle of the chain with the overdrive after it.
Which is why you're the pedal freak.
Yeah, I like to mess around with things. I like the fuzz to be before it, because if I turn on the fuzz and modulation, it gives me a lot of crazy noise, and I like messing around with that.
Yeah.
So
nice. Okay, so it's Ibanez PT9. You can still get a hold of this thing, or is it?
You can still get a hold of it used on places like eBay and used pedal shops and stuff like that. But this guy, I don't believe they make this specific model anymore.
But nonetheless, this specific one's the Ibanez PT9. But phasers in general are going to have very similar qualities. So there's the depth, if you will, speed, and those sorts of things. And so if you're new to phasers, that's what a phaser does, and they're all fairly similar in the concept of phasing. Okay, so there you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. We're doing a bunch of other pedal reviews, gear reviews, guitar lessons here on YourGuitarSage. So I don't know, we got 500 something videos, maybe a lot. So if you like what you've seen here, hit subscribe and thumbs up, like the video. Spay and neuter your cats and dogs. Listen to your folks. Eat your veggies. All that good stuff. Rock out. Practice. See